What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Open Ultra League since it will be returning in just a few hours time, featuring another triple XXL team from Mario Plumber 014, who's running 3 buffed legendaries with Regidrago in the lead, and then 2 Pokemon you might have forgotten even received buffs this season with Shadowclaw Lunala and Fly Lugia. Now as you can see, Lugia is single move. Typically I would prefer for submissions had 3 double move Pokemon, but I can understand that Aeroblast requires an Elite TM, and whilst it does hit very hard, doesn't provide any extra coverage. But in the future, double move Pokemon will definitely be expected. Now with that being said, let's just get straight into the question of the day. What niche aspect of Pokemon Go, like collecting XXL Pokemon, do you think you put a lot more time into than the average player? Let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so into the first battle, going to lead Regidrago into Belly Bolt. Now, this is definitely where we need to see it with this team. Lugia going to take super effective damage from the Sucker Punches and the Parabolic Charges, and Lunala is going to take double super effective damage from that fast move. So the opponent fires off the Parabolic Charge. Luckily for us, we are a Dragon-type Pokemon, so going to resist the charge move damage, and of course, they are going to boost up their defense, but that still does quite a lot of damage there, that Dragon Energy. We can take the next move as well, and potentially, Regidrago can commit to a full Dragon Breath farm down. It's going to be very close, but Regidrago coming out on top, leaving with back-to-back breaking swipes. However, they do come in with a Primarina, which is going to sponge the damage very comfortably, and also they don't even get debuff. But we come in with Lunala here. The opponent going to choose to stay in with that Primarina, and they are going to fire off the charge move first. We're going to shield this, of course, and at this point, we have probably put them into range where even if they do take out our Lunala, a single fly from the Lugia should get the KO. Shadow Ball is going to be shielded by the opponent, and the opponent is choosing to go for that Charm Farm down here. So we go for Shadow Ball number 2. Shadow Ball is going to grab that final shield, but they actually swap out into Giratina. Now, this is actually quite good for us because Lugia, whilst we are going to take super effective damage from either Ancient Power or a Shadow Sneak, we're hitting for super effective damage with the fast move. They're not on Shadow Claw as well. So we're going to go and fire off that Fly. Fly is going to put them into range where potentially we can shield once with the Lugia and then commit to a full Dragon Tail farm down. But it just depends, does that Primarina have a charge move loaded? It doesn't look like it as we fire off the Fly, and from this range, Fly gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. So go into next battle, we're going to see Guzzlord in the lead. So battle of the insane HP Dragon-type Pokemon. We're actually going to swap into our Lugia here, baiting out a Skeledirge, which I guess is okay for us. But Lunala, whilst of course going to take double super effective damage from the Shadow Balls, is actually going to have a decent time into Skeledirge just because we can hit for super effective damage with those Shadow Claws. But anyways, Torch Song, they do not full send the Shadow Ball, and as a result, Lugia going to win the zero shield scenario here, firing off another Fly. Fly will be no shielded. The opponent going to come back in with the Guzzlord, but they do not commit to the farm down. That is very nice for us. I don't think we would reach another charge move, but now the opponent uses their energy. We can come back in with the Regidrago, and the opponent is going to be slightly outpaced here to this Breaking Swipe. So we're going to fire off the Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe going to be shielded, and it also drops their attack, meaning we can actually no-shield this as the opponent fires off a Dragon Claw. Now we are committing to a Dragon Breath farm down. It's super close, but again, Regidrago getting that farm down, coming out with the Dragon Energy loaded. Dragon Energy going to do big damage into Ampharos, and despite the fact that the opponent very likely has Brutal Swing as a charge move, which again going to hit for double super effective damage, it does not matter as we can just double shield and commit to a full Shadow Claw farm down. So here we go, second shield here. Brutal Swing is not going to get the KO there as we can shield it and get that full farm down to take that game. Into the next battle, we see Primarina in the lead this time around. So we're going to save swap into our Lugia, and we're met with a Hydreigon. So that is very cool to see. Just a spicier version of the Guzzlord, but obviously not nearly as bulky. And we can actually still tank a Brutal Swing relatively comfortably. If you didn't know, Lugia has an insane stat product, one of the highest stat products for the Open Master League, even now with like Zacian and Zygarde. They obviously have slightly higher stat products, I believe, but Lugia is not far behind. But anyways, they come in with the Primarina, they get that Charm Farm down. We have now Flip Switch advantage. We can come in with Lunala, and of course, again, we're going to have to shield here, as Hydro Cannon going to do some decent damage. They swap into Skeledirge, and whilst I did mention earlier that Lunala has a decent matchup there, Regidrago has literally zero play into that Primarina, so this is the right play here, coming in with the Regidrago. firing off a Dragon Energy. Not going to bait. Full sending the hard-hitting move. They do shield, but if they commit to the farm down, Regidrago reaches a second Dragon Energy. Dragon Energy gets the KO there, and that is absolutely game over. We can come back in with the Lunala here. We can fire off the Shadow Ball, but instead, this is the Moon Pokemon, so we're going to fire off a Moon Blast, taking out the Primarina, and we're able to take that game. But just so you guys know, a Shadow Ball is going to be the move to go for in neutral situations there. That was kind of just a BM. But anyways, into next battle, we're seeing a Dragon Breath Giratina. So we do eventually say swap into our Lugia. Let's say Shadow Lugia, but nope, I just saw a Shadow for Alligator, and it made me think of Shadows. But anyways, they fire off the Crunch there, but Lugia able to tank that. Fire off our Fly, and Fly gonna be no-shielded, but if they commit to a Shadow Claw farm down, Lugia gonna reach a second Fly. This should get the KO here, or grab a shield. The opponent is going to shield, but they end up throwing, I think they might have thought that the Lugia would have gone down there, so they just ended up throwing a charge move, but that is definitely a mistake. And now, of course, we can come in with the Regidrago, commit to that farm down, but they've got a Charm Sylveon in the back. The opponent is going to swap back into Giratina. They have a charge move already loaded. They're firing off the Dragon Claw there. That's okay with us. We can now overfarm just slightly, firing off the Shadow Ball, likely going to grab the final shield from the opponent, and we do exactly that. So at this point, we are, of course, going to have to shield up this next charge move as well. We can overfarm here, but we don't want to get too low to the point where they can charm farm us down before we reach a Shadow Ball. So we do fire off the move here. Shadow Ball going to get the KO there. But can we reach the Shadow Ball? It doesn't look like it, so we're forced to swap out here. But this should just be a Psyshock. Psyshock is not super effective. Here, honestly, I think we should go for Breaking Swipe. We need to debuff their attack to potentially live another charm on our Lunala and reach a Shadow Ball. But unfortunately, we don't do that, but it doesn't matter as the opponent gets damage registration error there. We can go for Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we're going to see Chestnut in the lead. So this is a good matchup for actually the whole team, really. We might look to try and catch a charge move. We do. We catch the move onto our Lugia, and that is going to be a double resisted superpower. Really nice catch there. The opponent looking to bank potentially another superpower before swapping into their Shadow for Alligator. And whilst, of course, we did just catch a double resistant move, if the opponent is running Crunch, Crunch actually might put us into farm down range this time around, whereas last time, of course, we did reach a second Fly. Because of that superpower chip damage, they do get the farm down there. So actually, not ideal for us, but we're going to come in with the Regidrago. The opponent going to fire off a charge move. They go for Crunch once again. Of course, revealing Crunch is very unlikely that they have Ice Beam as well. The opponent's going to come back in with the Chestnut. We're going to shield this as they do go for a second superpower before swapping into a Skeledirge. Now we're going to fire off the Dragon Energy straight away. The opponent gonna no shield, and now we can just settle for a Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe very likely going to grab a shield here from the opponent, and it does. Breaking Swipe does not debuff their attack, however, which is certainly not ideal. But anyways, gonna no shield this. They go for Disarming Voice, getting the KO there. We can come in with Lunala, and we definitely need to shield this. Shadow Ball easily gets the one shot as it is double super effective. They come back in with the Chestnut here, and can we actually live a Frenzy Plant comfortably? Well, I guess we're about to find out as we fire off the Shadow Ball, grab that final shield. We throw on CMP here, winning CMP. The opponent fires off the Frenzy Plant. It does big damage, but Lunala hanging on, reaching another Shadow Ball, throwing on CMP. Once again, winning that CMP tie. Shadow Ball gets the KO, and Skeledirge is into Shadow Claw farm down range, which means we get that farm down before the Incinerate damage registers, and we're able to take that game. But into the next battle, we're going to see a Swampert in the lead. So this is a good matchup, and once again, fairly good for the whole team here. Lunala going to have a neutral matchup, but Lugia, since we are going to double resist the Mud Shots, probably a positive matchup for it. But anyways, we're going to stay in. They actually full send an Earthquake there, of course. Swampert did get buffed last season, I think it was, with Sludge. But either way, the opponent is going to bank some energy, swapping into Goodra. But I don't think this is enough energy for a Thunder Punch, and it is just the Aqua Tail there. So that's fine with us. We do throw on CMP there, losing CMP, but that's okay. Fly is going to connect. It doesn't do too much damage, but if the opponent is just not running Thunder Punch here, then we can just no shield and commit to a full Dragon Tail farm down. So we go for the farm down there. They remember we do have, well, the opponent does have a charge reloaded, so we're going to swap, catch the move there onto our Regidrago as the opponent does fire off that Hydro Cannon. And remember, Lugia also has a move banked, so we're going to come back in straight away, fire off the Fly. Fly is actually going to grab the final shield from the opponent. So at this point, it might, no, never mind, we're going to no-shield this, unless they have like a Dark-type Pokemon with Sucker Punch. I think we should be looking fine here. Lunala with 2 shields should be okay into pretty much anything. The opponent fires off the Hydro Cannon. We actually don't shield that for some reason, which is quite risky, but actually it doesn't matter. The opponent's going to have Alakazam in the back. Shadow Ball gets the one-shot there, and the opponent just going to concede the match. We even undercharged that significantly, and it still gets the KO. But into the next battle, going to see Giratina once again, and again they're on Dragon Breath, so it looks like if they are on Dragon Breath, we're going to be safe swapping into our Lugia straight away, as we can hit for super effective damage with the Dragon Tails. And whilst Ancient Power is super effective as well, it doesn't really matter too much. Lugia is very bulky, but the opponent comes in with a Feraligatr, this time a non-Shadow. So let's see, are they going to be on Crunch? Are they going to be on Ice Beam here? We're going to no-shield regardless, and the opponent actually settles for the Hydro Cannon from that range, so I guess we will never know. Well, I guess we can find out now as we come in with the Regidrago. Might be worth shielding here, but nope, never mind. We're not going to shield, and it is just a Hydro Cannon. So potentially, Mario Plumber doing a much better job of counting fast moves than I am. But either way, we are now going to full send the Dragon Energy, dealing huge damage, getting the Dragon Breath farm down, and they're going to have a Skeledirge in the back once again. So this time we can just start settling for the Breaking Swipes here. Breaking Swipe is going to be shielded by the opponent. We drop their attack there. Are we going to shield? We're actually not going to shield. I think Lunala with 2 shields once again can probably... No, never mind. The opponent actually goes for a bait there with the Torch Song. And as a result, we reach another Breaking Swipe. And that certainly puts them into range where we can just Shadow Claw farm them down. We've got 2 shields. The opponent recognizing there's nothing they can do. And so they just concede the match. Into next battle, another Guzzlord in the lead. So once again, safe swapping into our Lugia, despite the typing disadvantage, because Dragon Tail is going to hit for super effective into this Guzzlord. The opponent fires off that Brutal Swing before coming in with a Greninja. So double Dark so far. What the heck does this trainer do up against Fairy-type Pokemon? I don't have a clue here. They must have a really hard answer in the back, surely. But anyways, we're going to see a Night Slash coming through. We can come in with the Regidrago. This is a really positive matchup for us. Night Slashes not going to do too much damage unless they do start boosting. But anyways, going to no-shield the first move here. And Night Slash does not get that boost. So at this point, we don't look to throw on CMP, recognizing we would lose it. Instead, we're going to continue to overfarm massively. But the opponent does swap back into their Guzzlord. So we go straight for Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe is going to connect there. It drops their attack. And unfortunately, we cannot get the full farm down. But we are saving both shields for Lunala. Once again, going for the Shadow Claw farm down. It is going to be resisted, but we get a huge farm down. They come back in with Greninja. We can now considerably overfarm. Fire off that Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is resisted, but it grabs the final shield from the opponent. Now, of course, we're definitely going to need to shield up a Night Slash. Honestly, Night Slash probably gets the one shot there. We are now going to fire off the move, but we throw on CMP. It looks like losing CMP. That might be a mistake there. Yeah, I think we definitely should have committed to an overfarm. But anyways, firing off the Shadow Ball, getting the KO there, and their final Pokemon gonna be a Skeledirge, but Lunala will just barely outpace them to the Shadow Ball. And does Shadow Ball get the one shot from this range? Yes, it absolutely does. And we're able to take that game. So 2 shields and a Lunala looks like a very strong sweeper in the current Ultra League meta, even up against Dark-type Pokemon like Guzzlord and the Greninja. But anyways, into next battle, gonna see another Greninja, this time in the lead, so very positive matchup for us. The opponent fires off that Night Slash there. We are just gonna settle for a Breaking Swipe. I don't mind this. Breaking Swipe, whilst it won't KO, would put them into farm down range anyways, and we end up debuffing their attack. So Night Slash number 2 doesn't do too much damage, but we do continue to overfarm here. The opponent reaching another move. They go for Hydro Cannon, which is not the right play there. We can now go for the Breaking Swipe once again. Breaking Swipe, gonna get the KO, but they do come in with a Florges. So this is a tricky Pokemon for the Lugia to deal with. So we're gonna come in with our Lunala, but we're actually gonna swap out. We try to catch potentially a Trailblaze there, but it doesn't work out for us. Instead, we're gonna no-shield this. They go for the Trailblaze anyway, so I don't mind that play at all. And even boosted, we probably do live a Moonblast, but we are gonna start shielding now. They bait again with the Trailblaze there. Nice play on the opponent's end, but we can fire off the Fly. Fly, not really gonna put them into farm down range, but it does grab the final shield. So at this point, we definitely just no-shield our Lugia. Do they bait again? Nope, they full send the Moonblast. We do actually still hang on there, which is kind of crazy to see, but we can now definitely shield our Lunala as they fire off yet another Trailblaze. We can now look to overfarm massively. Gonna throw the Shadow Ball here. Shadow Ball will definitely get the KO from this range, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Feraligatr, which is unfortunate, but we reach the Shadow Ball on the CMP tie. Can Shadow Ball get the one shot? Nope, nowhere near, unfortunately. Maybe if they had a Shadow Feraligatr, we could have got the KO, but Hydro Cannon gets the KO, but remember, we had a Fly banked. I actually completely forgot about that, and Fly gets the KO there. I thought that was our first loss of the video, but nope, Lugia had other ideas, and we take that game. But into the next battle, we're going to see an Alolan Muck in the lead, so good to see it here. We are going to just barely be outpaced before we do reach a Dragon Energy. We are going to let the Acid Spray go through. That's fine with us. Doesn't do much damage. We're full sending the nuke. Dragon Energy is going to connect. And now we're actually swapping into Lunala here, which is an interesting play. Unfortunately, not able to get that resisted Shadow Claw farm down. We need to shield this, and they do full send the Dark Pulse this time around, which is good news. They're going to come in with Giratina. I don't really know why we go for Moonblast here. Shadow Ball would have been fine, but Moonblast does connect. Shadow Ball would have done more damage there, so yeah, definitely should have just gone for that Shadow Ball. But anyways, this is fine with us. Dragon Claw does not get the KO, and we will reach a last-second Shadow Ball. Anyways, we don't need to hit any bubbles here. Shadow Ball, gotta get the KO anyways, and their final Pokemon is Cobalion, and they get a huge farm down there, as of course the double kicks were triple resisted up against the Psychic and Ghost typing, but they end up blind throwing a Sacred Sword there. That is a huge mistake. We then try to catch a Stone Edge, doesn't really work out for us as the opponent holds onto the energy, but they do end up full sending a Stone Edge anyways. And here we definitely go for Breaking Swipe. We need to get that debuff to their attack. Breaking Swipe, gonna be shielded, and it does drop their attack, which means Lugia should be able to very comfortably tank a Stone Edge now, potentially even 2 Stone Edges. Yeah, you can see a second Stone Edge won't even get the KO. They do finally get us into the yellow health range, but that's okay with us. We're going to no-shield. The opponent baits with a Sacred Sword there. Huge call. Are we going to call it again? Yes, we are. The opponent, once again, going for that bait, and that has just sealed the win for us, surely. Oh, what the heck are we doing? Why are we doing this? Fully charge the moves, please. We need to actually get the win here. Come on. What are we doing? That was majorly disrespectful, and it might backfire. The opponent does finally full send the Stone Edge now, so we should have the win here. But honestly, what a strange end game. We can fire off the second Fly. Fly will get the KO if we actually hit the bubbles, and we're able to take out Cobalion and take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.